Hello, everyone. I'm Samir Prince, and this is Part of the Pros, a series of video sessions where we sit down with some of the most talented and successful execs in the sports entertainment industry, learning about how they've got to where they are and what it takes to become a pro in their field. Very excited to have today's guest with me, ex-NBA, ex-Cavs, and now president and CEO of New York City Football Club, Brad Sims. Brad, thanks for joining us.
Samir, thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
For sure. So kicking off with a question I always like to start these conversations with. Take us back to the start, Brad. How did you first get into sports?
Yeah, all the way back. Yeah. So my first job in sports was in minor league baseball, and I'm proud to say, and for whatever reason at that time in my life, I grew up. I played baseball, basketball, soccer my whole life growing up, but baseball kind of as I was in high school and college was my number one sport, and I just decided I want to work in sports. I want to work in baseball. I was pre-law undergrad, and then kind of one day decided I don't think I want to be a lawyer. I don't know that I'd love doing that job. I want to do something I'm passionate about. So I decided to sell tickets, which was actually not what I was passionate about. I was my first job. I was trying to find anyone who would hire me at a professional baseball team that wasn't going to make me sell. And then of course I ended up in a sales job. So, which ended up being the best thing, the best thing that ever happened to me. So I started my career at the Durham Bulls, a minor league baseball team in Durham, North Carolina, of Bull Durham movie fame. And it started, essentially an inside sales type role, making 100 plus phone calls every day, selling season tickets, group sales, all that kind of good stuff. But I applied to probably every team in the country, major league, minor league, and followed up. And what I didn't realize at the time is I was essentially selling myself then. I was getting up early in the morning, making, cold calling executives, whoever would take my call, which was not many of them, but a few kind people, gave me some great advice and helped me in that process. And then from there, it's been very fortunate to work for a lot of great organizations, a lot of great leaders. Really kind of, I tell the story that first job was the only one I've kind of gone in cold to. And after that, pretty much every step along the way has been, someone who, introducing me to someone else, or, me having made a good impression at somewhere along the way that led to an opportunity later on down the line. I feel like, though I have technically interviewed for roles, the rest of the way throughout my career, really they've been kind of, hand in hand, going from, teed up and recommendations, thankfully. So my after the Durham experience, I went to work in Maryland, stayed in baseball, in the Orioles organization, working again in ticket sales, just kind of a higher level ticket sales job. That was one of my bosses in North Carolina who knew somebody in the Orioles organization and recommended me. And I did that for a couple of years, moved into a leadership role, leading ticket sales teams at the minor league affiliates of the Orioles in Maryland. They own 3 different teams throughout Maryland at different levels. And after that led me ultimately to Philadelphia in the Comcast Spectacor Group, and in a role where I was overseeing ticket sales, inside sales, nightly suite and premium rentals, and group sales for everything in the Comcast Spectacor portfolio. Flyers, at the time 76ers, the two arenas, AHL hockey, indoor lacrosse, and all kinds of family shows, concerts, everything. Hundreds of events a year, and that was a real game changer for me, just kind of being exposed to really the major league side of things, the big arena, big market, and gave me a taste of that, and also gave me a chance to have exposure to the league offices, so both NBA and NHL, and going to league meetings and having people from the league office in market working closely with us, and especially the Teambo group from the NBA, who was in market. And Scott O'Neill was my Teambo account manager for the 76ers for my first few years there, and someone who really helped us with our business and helped me personally with the growth, my growth and development. and gave me the idea that maybe, working at a league office one day could be a good idea and could be a great development opportunity for me. And then after a few years in Philadelphia with Comcast Spectacor, I did an entrepreneurial venture back with some friends that I worked with at the Orioles, and we built minor league baseball stadiums in multiple markets. We owned and operated expansion teams, minor league expansion teams in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and then ultimately in Texas. And gave me an opportunity to broaden my scope, get into the stadium building and development side, in addition, and operations side, in addition to the commercial side, which had been my background at that point. And it was a great experience, and really gave me the bug about building things, and not just building teams. I'd always kind of really had a passion for building teams and helping people build their careers, but actually building physical infrastructure and kind of what that looked like was my first experience there. And at the time I felt that, didn't want it to be my last. And then kind of going back to the Scott O'Neill connection, was made aware of some opportunities at the NBA league office. Scott was outgoing. Chris Granger was taking over the group. And I had the great fortune of joining the Teambo Group as an account manager, moving to New York, getting that experience, and working closely with NBA teams and NBA G League teams and WNBA teams to help them build their business. And I did that for 4 years, and kind of one of the teams I worked most closely with during those 4 years was the Cleveland Cavaliers. And ultimately, Len Komorowski and Kerry Buboltz recruited me to Cleveland, where I was chief revenue officer for the Cavs for about 6.5 years, and a fantastic experience and great run we had in Cleveland. And that experience really kind of teed me up for where I am today. Really kind of broadened, my skills, my background, and we did an amazing arena project in Cleveland, arena transformation project there. And kind of at the end, it was what's the next step, and something that I'd always been interested in, a sport I've always been interested in. Like I said, I played from the time I could walk, and was sport I followed closely, soccer, and just felt like the opportunities in soccer in this country, were growing. The MLS is growing like crazy, and just it seemed like this was the time to get involved in soccer, and I also wanted to broaden my kind of career experience too. So joined City Football Group and New York City Football Club in January of 2019. So on my 5th season now. So
nice.
Time flies.
Nice. Yeah, tell me about it. It does. I mean, like I said, you've had an incredible career path to date. Some great names, some great people that you've worked with along the years as well. Was there any point, Brad, and not everyone gets this, but a lot of people do, when they get that first kind of pinch me moment, when you look around and you think, wow, this is actually my job, from trading to be a lawyer, to getting into ticket sales, to obviously now being the president and CEO of an MLS team. Was there any point throughout that career when you did just turn around and think, wow, this is pretty cool?
Yeah, every point. I mean, and I'm not even joking. I mean, my first day in Durham, working at a baseball stadium in kind of my area, I had a phone, and I was actually, they put me in the press box, and because they didn't have enough seats on the sales floor, and so I'm in the press box by myself with a phone and kind of cards of companies to call, and I'm just staring out over this beautiful, pristine, baseball field, and I was like, this is incredible. I can't believe that I'm getting paid very meagerly, but I'm still getting paid to do that job. And then the next job, I was like, wow, like this is incredible. And the next job, and I felt that way every kind of every step along the way. I think I've had to raise my expectation. It wasn't like day one, I'm in my mind, I said, I'm going to be a CEO of a major sports team.
Right.
I wasn't thinking that big, but kind of each, as the kind of my path grew, started thinking a little bigger and then a little bigger. But each time it was, wow, this is incredible. And like I said, I've been very, very fortunate to, work with alongside and for a ton of really great leaders and owners and organizations, and live in great cities. And so the pinch me moments haven't stopped, and they probably won't. I would definitely feel very fortunate for the career I've had to date.
Yeah, glad to hear it. And you made a good point in there, Brad. You mentioned about leveling up your expectations of an opportunity when you are going into it. How crucial would you say that is to succeeding if you are going from not just one industry to another, but working for the league office, or even going back to Comcast days, working with those guys, moving over to the league office, then moving over to the Cavs, every time in a slightly more senior role. How important would you say it is to look within yourself and actually manage that expectation of, right, I need to take my game up to the next level in order to succeed in this role? And just talk to us about that kind of thought process that you might have had as you were making those transitions.
Yeah, I think the first time I really had the thought process of really feeling like I needed to raise my game was when I was at the NBA league office. And I had a first year or so, I'm looking around, and myself with a group of 6 or 7 other NBA account managers who are incredibly talented people that were my peers. And the group that we had at that time was amazing, and has gone on to do continues to do great things. Amy Brooks, Dan Reed, Ted Lurkey, Aaron Ryan, Ben Gumpert. There's many more, but that have done incredible things. And I'm looking around, and a lot of times I was in this room, I was like, wow, like, okay, that person is Stanford undergrad and Stanford MBA, and that person is Notre Dame undergrad and Duke MBA, and that person is Yale undergrad and Cornell MBA, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I'm UC San Diego, which is a great school, by the way, but UC San Diego, undergrad degree, and that's it. So there might have been a bit of imposter syndrome for me early on in my career, early on my time there, where I was like, wow, do I belong? Like, I'm around like the most smartest and most talented group of people I've ever been around by far. And and then having conversations with them at some point in time, and then I remember a conversation at one of our events, and they said, I kind of divulged how I felt a little bit, and they said, a couple of people say, wow, but you have all this amazing team experience that we don't have, and we're envious of that. And it's something that had never even occurred to me that could be the case. And I was like, wow, maybe I do belong. But just working alongside really, really talented people makes you need to, and I'm competitive. I'm very competitive by nature. So it was like, kind of, all right, I got to somehow, work harder, and maybe I have to work harder than everyone else just to kind of have a similar level of output. But that's something that really led me to say, and I felt like I definitely elevated my game in the time there. And then I had a lot more confidence, I think, that coming out of there, where I said, hey, I can see myself going to be a chief commercial officer somewhere and being very successful. And then going from there to being a president or CEO and being able to be successful.
Yeah. You hear that a lot. And I especially hear it a lot when I'm speaking and networking, is surrounding yourselves with arguably people that are better than you is really the environment that you want to be in to really thrive and succeed, because, as you say, it elevates your game. It takes you to that next level, and ultimately took you to where you are now, right, as the president and CEO of NYCFC. Been there since Jan 2019 now. Made the playoffs every single year since you joined the business. Talk to us about what it takes to be, I guess, a consistently successful team in a league that, at least to my knowledge, is only getting more and more competitive with each year that goes by. Yeah,
I'm a big believer that talent wins. This is something we said at Teambo. Maybe stole that one from Scott O'Neill. He may have stole it from someone else, but and so it's obviously we have to have the best players on the pitch, but generally surrounding ourselves with the best talent throughout the entire organization, having high standards, high expectations culturally, trying to instill in everyone that we want to be a championship caliber team on and off the pitch at all times. And I think that everyone doing their job and their responsibilities to the highest of their abilities and having high expectations permeates, in everything you do, even on the pitch. A lot of times people say, oh, we can't impact and can't, affect that. I think we can, in my role, the sporting side and the business side all kind of flow up into me, and we have amazing resources throughout City Football Group that we can also count on, and talk about high expectations. And when your sister club is Manchester City, and winning multiple trophies every year, that sets a good expectation for where we should be, and everything that they're able to do to support us both on the business side and on the football side. But yeah, to me, I think it's hiring winners and people, and hiring stars, and letting them do their jobs. I think that's one thing, for whatever reason, I feel like one of my strengths has been throughout my career is identifying talent, and being able to recruit talent, and retain talent, and grow and develop people. And that's the key piece. We have unbelievably great people on the sporting side of the business. We have great people on our commercial side, and we've really been able to grow this thing. But be consistent. Having every year we go into each season saying, we're expect to compete for trophies. We expect to put ourselves in the position to compete for trophies every single year. And it's hard in Major League Soccer, more so, I think, from my experience, more so than any other league in North America, the parity. And we're in a situation right now. We have the second longest playoff streak in all of MLS at 7 consecutive years. The third longest streak is 2 years, which is wild to think about. So it's there's a lot of parity in the league. The rules and the salary cap and everything are set up so that you don't have dynasties, you don't have teams that are crushing it every single year. But that's, to me, that's a fun challenge. And to our team, it's how do we manage the salary cap the right way? How do we get the right type of players? How do we balance our roster? But it's I think a mindset from the top. And for us, the top is City Football Group, our parent company, and that kind of level of expectation that's instilled in everybody throughout our organization globally.
Yeah. You touched on quite a few good points there. One I just want to kind of dive into in a little more detail, Brad, as you mentioned, obviously working closely with Man City as a part of the CFG group. Must be great, right? Just working with the likes of what are now probably the most dominant team in the Premier League over the past decade, which, by the way, pains me to say that as a Liverpool fan, as
I'm sure. But you had to say probably. I would say
I
was most definitely.
Key word in that.
Yeah.
But that must help you guys out so much, right? To have a team of that stature as a part of your group, and obviously the internal conversations that will take place as a result. Just talk to us about, I guess, maybe how that might even separate you guys from some of the rest of the teams in the league, and how that obviously can work to your advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think clearly what most people would point to is on the advantage on the sporting side. I think it is a competitive advantage. Global scouting networks. We have 13 teams around the world, and so we have scouts in all these areas, and we have teams in most of the kind of top talent producing countries globally, for sure, on a per capita basis. Places like Uruguay and Belgium, kind of stand out as areas that over index on a per capita basis for football talent. But and then we have Palermo in Italy, we have Troyes in France, and Girona in Spain. So some of the biggest biggest leagues in Europe as well, and most recently acquiring a team in the first division in Brazil and Bahia. So we really, these talent-rich nations, we have, I think, extensive networks. So I definitely think that's a competitive advantage. Having said that, there are MLS rules that try to negate some of those advantages, or neutralize, I should say, probably some of those advantages. But ultimately, I think it shines through in us being able to find the right caliber of players at the right prices, which in a salary cap league is super important for kind of that consistency and longevity of success. But then also, to me, I feel like it's a huge advantage, the City Football Group, competitive advantage in the business side. I mean, we have a lot of close connectivity to the global CMO of Nuria Tare is the global CMO of City Football Group, who supports us in our NYCFC marketing initiatives and in brand project that we're doing right now, and things of that nature that that other organizations don't have that kind of advantage, or our, you know, global HR network and the support that we get, you know, in global finance, and I mean, we have just really smart and talented people that that are involved and that are super helpful to the NYCFC business. So when needed, we tap on those resources, and it's extremely helpful, and that's something that most MLS teams, or by the way, most teams throughout, you know, North American sports don't really have that extra layer of expertise to be able to tap into.
And you've obviously got a lot of exciting initiatives coming up. We've got the World Cup, which obviously you guys will be playing a part on, but I guess more importantly, stadium projects coming up. Must be pretty exciting for you guys. Something that I know has been in the works for some time. Talk to us about that, Brad.
Yeah, it's exciting times. I mean, I think that, you know, one of the really exciting opportunities for me coming into this role was a young club, young, you know, still young league, all things considered, right? But young club in that league. I came in NYCFC's 5th season, and kind of what was staring ahead of us, you know, when I started, kind of if I was to look 10 years out, was a World Cup coming in 2026, a sport that's growing in popularity just significantly in this country. But then with our club, the opportunity, and I mentioned earlier, kind of my love and passion for infrastructure projects, and it was one of these situations where, okay, looking forward, this is a club that is going to be building the first ever soccer specific stadium in New York City at some point. I thought 5 years ago, I thought it would have been sooner, right? But we're finally there where we have a site, we're pushing forward in Queens, and it's going to be just an incredible. We're building an entire neighborhood in Wills Point with 2,500 units of affordable housing, a hotel, a school, green space, retail, restaurants, you name it. And right next to our City Field, right to the south of us, the USTA. And so this amazing, what's going to be the biggest, sports hub in New York City. It's just going to be an incredible project to be a part of. And so I'm very excited about that. It's a game changer for our organization. But that's not it. I think that, ultimately in the next 5 years, we're going to be building a new training center that will get our academy and our first team and our second team, our MLS Next Pro team, all under one roof. We're going to have a home somewhere in the greater New York City area for our second team, for our MLS Next Pro team. We believe that can be a commercial venture, kind of taking some of the learnings that I had from Cleveland with our NBA G League franchise there, and trying to figure out how to make this a commercially viable venture, and which I believe it can be. Women's football is something that we're very interested in, something that's important, part of the core DNA of City Football Group's teams. We have a hugely successful women's team in Manchester. And in fact, our first team head coach here in NYCFC, Nick Cushing, was the manager of the Manchester City women's team for a number of years. Has a bunch of trophies to his name there, and so we have great women's programs around the world, in Melbourne, Australia, and Montevideo, and Girona, and Troyes, and other areas as well. So we think ultimately that will happen in New York City as well. So just a lot of things to look forward to, and to grow, to build this club to try and reach its ultimate potential.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? You spend 4.5 years, 5 years in a club, and usually you've kind of gone in and you've achieved everything that you kind of need to achieve, but it sounds like you guys are just at the tip of the iceberg, really, right? There's a lot more to look forward to. You've obviously got the World Cup coming here. You've got the Women's World Cup this year. You've got the Men's World Cup coming in 26. I know you guys are playing a part in that as well. So yeah, like I said, a lot to look forward to moving forwards. Just diving into the kind of team at the moment in a little more detail, and something that I've always picked up on from conversations that I've had with folks that work with the group of NYCFC, and I guess CFG is a part of that as well. Everyone's always spoken so positively of the culture of the business. Can you just give us, I guess, your perspective, Brad, on that, how you've built such a great culture, not only since you joined, but everyone else that's come in and actually played a part in that as a part of your senior management team as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something that's been important to me throughout my career and every stop I'm going, whether that's my role in helping drive culture, or and also aligning myself with uh, like-minded people that were above me or alongside me that wanted to drive positive culture, and no different here in throughout New York City. And as I mentioned before, I think even from a city football group standpoint, it was very clear to me early on that it's just like a great group of talented and just quality people that are good people, that care about their work, but also care about others. And I think that's kind of for me, a key component is really caring about people.
Yeah.
Really, this is a people business. I mean, it's maybe a little cliche, but it really is. And that's something that has been important to me throughout my career is really how do you help people develop? How do you get more out of them than maybe they would have expected from themselves? And so you're driving a high performance type atmosphere and environment, but not at the risk of negative culture, and some of those things are just, or I think for me early in my career, that you work with some leaders and you see some people where like, yeah, I responded to this kind of leadership and kind of culture, and others where you like, I don't respond to this, and what works for most people, what might work for me as a leader, and what I would not want to take with me from certain people to try and craft my my style and my structure and my kind of environment that I like to create. But really, it's for me, it's how do we have a positive working environment? How can we be encouraging of our people? How can we set high expectations? But really, when you get top talent people, generally we had a saying at Teambo where we say A's hire A's and B's hire C's. Right. And, like I said, and if you want to surround, and I feel like if you're an A player, you want to be surrounded by other A players because you want to be pushed. People are competitive. You are, you want to you want to achieve more, you want to outsell the person next to you or whatever that situation is. But the trick is, how do you do that? How do you have a situation where the person next to you makes a big sale and you can be happy for them, you can cheer for them, you can root for them, you applaud for them, but then you're like, all right, now nose down, now I'm next, I got to get the next one. And so, that is the trick, and not having and finding people who can help drive those kind of environments, not just in sales and commercial areas, but throughout the business, where you have people who want to achieve great things, whether that's with our content group, or our graphic design, or community team, which does just amazing things throughout the 5 boroughs of New York. They're people where they're driven, they want to be the best, they want to perform at high levels, but they're also rooting for the person alongside them to be successful as well. And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not where it's either I'm successful or the person next to me is successful. We got to have this scenario and an environment where everyone can be successful together individually as a team.
Love that. Something that we always look to breed here within FB as well. You want to create that competitive culture, but at the same time, you want people to be supportive of one another's success. And when everyone succeeds, the whole business succeeds, the whole team succeeds, everyone wins, right? So the right mindset to have. Nice. Last question, I'll leave you with, Brad. Any advice that you've got for I guess people maybe at the earlier stage of their careers who may be considering whether it be a move into sports, whether it be a move into soccer, or maybe even an opportunity within NYCFC? Any advice that you'd give to those guys that they can kind of take away and think about as they're going through that thought process?
Sure. I mean, I think generally I would always say to anyone, like, follow your passion. I think people will say that if you're, and we have a lot of really passionate people specific in our organization, especially around soccer, which is something that was I think a little different to me. I think that in my stops in baseball, basketball, hockey, et cetera, you had people that had an affinity for the sport, or but really were maybe more focused on sports, on the business of the sports, or they're from that market and they had a passion about the market. In soccer and football, to me, I haven't seen anything like it. The people that work in our organization in New York and throughout our other clubs around the world are just so passionate about the sport of soccer and about growing the sport in this country. It's almost like a movement, in some ways, more so than a job. And so It's about something bigger than all of us in soccer, which I love, and I love that mentality from our team. But for someone getting into, whether it's in getting into football or getting into other sports or other industries, is follow your passion. And once you get in, then it's a matter of make your mark. And there's there's a couple ways to be able to do that, and it doesn't always have to be top producer, or I think obviously that helps, and that's a big component of it. But intangibles, right? People who bring the positive energy and are always optimistic, and are all a great team player, someone who's a great teammate, who's supportive. Those things go a long way in making a positive impression, and for leaders to say, hey, that's someone I want on my team, that's someone I want to grow and invest in over time. And I think to me it's kind of a simple formula, but I feel like if you have a strong work ethic, you have a positive attitude, and you get results, you're gonna have a great career, and you're gonna grow, and you can focus on that. And it sounds super simple, but I've been in situations where I've had people that have a great attitude, but are maybe lazy and don't work as hard, and then probably you're not going to get as great of results as you like to. Or people that work hard but are not great culturally, and those people aren't going to go far in the long run, in my opinion. And then very rarely, but I've seen it happen, but very rarely you might have someone who actually is really good culturally and is is a hard worker, but is not able to get results for one reason or another. And so ultimately you still have to be able to produce. But those generally, I feel like if you control the controllables, control what you can control, and it's like when you get into work, what you bring to the table from a work ethic standpoint, leading by example. What do you bring to the table from an intangibles perspective, leading by example? If those things almost always equal success, and from what I've seen.
Perfect. Super helpful, Brad. Really appreciate the insight, and I'm sure for everyone listening, they can take a lot from all of this. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks for your time, and all the best to you and everyone else at NYCFC for the course of this season.
Great. Thanks so much, Samir. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks everyone for listening. See you soon.